I'll say one last thing. If you make this thing and I like it, I'm going to give you a free sponsorship on Unzip to promote it. So this is a call to action to all the subscribers. If you make this, you're basically getting a big audience of developers to see it. So just let us know.
Hello and welcome to Apple Grabs. My name is Tom and today with me is my co-host Agam. Today we're going to have a special episode talking about one concept and one concept only, newsletters. Agam, that's your core.
Yeah. We also decided that I'm going to talk this time because Tom fucked up his microphone. So I'm going to try to make the audio sound better later. Okay, so newsletters. I'm really into newsletters. If people don't really know at this point, it's a problem. Basically, I'm running a newsletter for developers and CTOs alike that I talk about developer trends. And I had a lot of shenanigans trying to run that newsletter. So I started with a system called Ghost, which is an open source system that allows you to send email newsletters to your audience and also host them as a blog. Very nice, very cool. The problem was I started to reach about 3,000 subscribers, and then I was like, okay, I want to make this even bigger because I started getting money through sponsorships and stuff like that. But I said the sponsorships are directly correlated to the amount of subscribers you have. So I was like, okay, let's grow this and get more sponsorship money so I can focus more on the content side and do less of the other.
Maybe talk a little bit about, sorry for stopping you, maybe talk a little bit about what types of promotion activities you can do for newsletters, because it's like standard by now. And the reason why you migrated, if I remember correctly, to take advantage of some of, the capabilities.
Yeah, so there are a few ways that you can create growth in a newsletter. The basic ones are organic. So if you post on LinkedIn or, I don't know, Twitter or Reddit. But the other big part a lot of players are doing is advertisements. So you're paying money to advertise your newsletter. You calculate how much a newsletter subscriber is worth, and you're trying to get your ad spend to be lower than that per subscriber that you get. So a lot of people are playing with like Twitter or playing with like Instagram ads and all that. If you ever saw TLDR, that's a big newsletter. It's worth like I think it has like 200,000 subscribers. So it's making a lot of money. It's in the millions. And it's basically only run by doing advertisements all the time. So back to our session. So I was looking how to grow it, and Ghost, which was like this open source tool I'm using, is very nice, but it doesn't have a lot of growth tools. So for example, what are the things? One is a referral system. I wanted to have like prizes that I can give subscribers if they refer someone. There was nothing like that for Ghost that was easily implemented. Two was like boosts, which is something that a big player named BeeHiiv is doing, where you can pay for like subscribers that are really using your newsletter. So really opening and clicking the newsletter. So I just want to show you a bit of the market, just so we get like an understanding of it. So this is CB Insights. Tom, I know you like the website.
I am partial to it. It is just the best of its category, kind of the best of the worst, I would say.
Yeah, it's like a research website. So basically, I want to show you one image here. This is the last investments that they added for the newsletter space. So we have Medium with $163 million investment, Substack $82 million, BeeHiiv 4.2, which is actually they added a 12.5 investment recently, and ConvertKit, which is bootstrap, so it doesn't really tell you a lot about them. Basically, those are the big players.
To give you some context, ConvertKit is like a 32 million ARR business by now, probably something.
Yeah, it's really serious. The thing is, all these newsletter systems have a lot of problems, and I think there should be a new player in the game. And this is what this video is about. I think there is a space, a very exciting one that's very cool for developers actually, to get into this place and actually make it explode. So where am I taking this? My newsletter, I want to show you for a second, have a shameless plug here. It's very customized. So this is my landing page, and I hard-coded all of this HTML, JavaScript, CSS to make it look this way. So when you put your email, so if I do agam@gmail.com, it does like this cool subscribe form. A lot of people liked it. It got viral on Hacker News, and I got a lot of subscribers from that. To make this thing, I had to customize Ghost and create user templates. So them being open source really helped me. When I moved to BeeHiiv, I did that recently. I wasted a lot of time. Tom, I like annoyed the heck out of him, just, with all the shenanigans I went through. But I had to do like a bunch of crazy stuff to keep my landing page because they're a closed source system.
maybe before you kind of dive into the specifics, talk about what comprises a newsletter, because it looks like it's just a mailing list going out, but in fact, there's like a bunch of things in it, like the infrastructure for it, that you may maybe just kind of break it down a little bit, just so people understand what's on the back end of like a successful newsletter.
Yeah, so a newsletter, the way I look at it, is built from the following aspects. You have, first of all, you have like a funnel. It's a marketing thing, right? You need to get people into your website. On that website, they subscribe. They basically give you the email, and then they're added into your subscription list. After you have that, you have an editor where you can send them edit the email and then send all the subscriber lists that email. Then you have analytics that you can check what's going on with the email. And on top of that, if you're doing a paid newsletter, then people pay to join. And if you're using a sponsorship based, you get advertisers to pay you. But that's the basic operation on how a newsletter looks like.
So what would be the differentiation between a good service provider and a bad service provider in the newsletter?
There are a lot of things that can be fucked up. So for example, I don't want to talk about this too much, but one of the problems I had with BeeHiiv was they have...
No. Let me. I was part of this, like, from the side, including the Twitter discussion about it. Essentially, I got migrated from one platform to another, from Ghost, whatever, to this BeeHiiv thing with 2 eyes. And essentially, the system fucked up. There was some sort of message that went out wrong or something like super serious, which actually damaged Agam's reputation, Agam's like newsletter reputation. And he talked to the guys and tried to kind of figure out how to get out of it in a way that, is technically smart. Like, maybe I should click something different. They essentially threw all the blame on him, telling him, you're at fault, you're the problem here, instead of like a normal customer support person, kind of give him actual tools to get out of the situation he's currently in. So naturally, I got migrated out. But I have to tell you, one of the worst customer support experiences I have ever seen. And I've been through quite a lot of tool migration.
Yeah, it took me about a month to migrate into BeeHiiv because I had that specific newsletter landing page and all of that. And then it took me another few weeks to migrate out. So it was a big shenanigan. I lost a lot of like SEO stuff. I wanted to create like a viral post called "How BeeHiiv Killed My Newsletter," but I said I'll only publish it if they don't give me a refund. And thank God they gave it. But again, it was like a partial refund too. So let's not bash too much BeeHiiv, but basically, I had a lot of problems with them. But I also checked Substack. I also checked ConvertKit. I know all these systems. So where's the gap? This is what I want to talk about. I think there is a gap of an open source newsletter system that's modern. Okay? And I'm going to take it even a step further. This is something I thought about a year ago. And I wrote the GitHub repository to kind of outline my ideas. And I want to show you that and go through it. And this is basically the idea that we're going to talk about today. So I called it NLX because it sounds cool. It's like Newsletter X. It was before Elon bought the X thing and all that. But you see, it's a year ago.
Are you trying to sound cool now? Is that what's happening? Like, oh, I did it before Elon.
Yeah, well, it is true.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
It's a good name.
So basically, let's go through all the points here and figure out where I think there's this opportunity here. So before I really dive in, I just want to give a disclaimer. If you're not a developer, some of these things are going to sound weird, but basically, I think this is a perfect project for a developer who wants to make like an open source thing in the newsletter space. Okay, so the basic idea is that it's open source. It's headless, meaning that you can change the landing page like I changed it. So if you want to create like a fancy landing page or a fancy blog, you can change that. The core of the system in the back end is going to do the same things, but the front end can be different. I want to have analytics that are good. Like none of these newsletter systems have interesting analytics, which is crazy to me. And that's the first part I want to talk about. When you have a newsletter, you want to know how is your newsletter doing. You want to be data-driven about it. Okay, you want to segment your users. For example, if you want to segment in BeeHiiv right now, and you want to segment by, Europe, let's say you want to segment all your European customers, not customers, but subscribers, you need to add them manually. So you need to add like 30, 40 countries manually, and then you only have that segmentation. Imagine that you had a database where you could just do SQL queries however you like. And you can segment those SQL queries in any way you want. That makes it super flexible. And it means that you don't need to develop a lot of like segmentation and analytic tools. The users that are going to use the system will know SQL. So that's the one thing. Second thing is MDX.
Before you move on,
yeah.
One thing that's super important to understand about mailing systems, they were usually built for marketing people. They were not built for developers. And usually what happens is developers are second-class citizens other than first-class citizens of the platform. What Agam is saying, I want a newsletter system that's developer first, essentially. And I'm not talking about transactional emails like account registration, stuff like that, product email. He's also not talking about normal marketing emails, like product updates and stuff like that. He's talking about a self-hosted individual person, right? Not a self-hosted, but like an individual person who wants to create a newsletter business. The systems currently are tailored to different segments of the market and not to him. And with the newsletters business exploding, I think there's a place for something.
Yeah. So for example, just to hit on that point that Tom said, a lot of the newsletter systems are built for this premium newsletter thing. So you need to pay to subscribe. For example, Substack, or a lot of these other tools. Even the only one that was a bit different was BeeHiiv, but there are not a lot of sponsorship-based newsletters. And the cool thing about it is I think this is a market that's going to grow because a big player in the space called Swapstack was just acquired by BeeHiiv. So I think they're consolidating there, and I think there's a big place in the market for a new player. And this is what we're diving into. So the second part I want to talk about is like a few of the technicalities. So when you're writing your newsletter, a lot of developers love Markdown. MDX is something super cool. It allows you to add React components into your Markdown. So you can have like these cool flowcharts or like interesting visuals inside your email. So this means that we can rasterize or like take an image and put that in the email so it works there also. Headless, I talked about it a tiny bit. I want you to be able to customize the whole flow of your newsletter. If you're using Substack or you're using BeeHiiv, you're stuck with their ugly-ass layouts. I think you should be able to create a cool layout like I created. And this is something that's only possible if you have a headless system. What do I mean by headless? And Tom, explain to me tell me if I'm not understandable. When I mean headless, I mean something like this. You should have basic API endpoints to do the basic things. So if you have a subscriber, you want to make them subscribed, right? So if you create your own form in React or, I don't know, Svelte or whatever the fuck you decide, you should have an
No. You're making this too complicated. It's very simple. Currently, newsletter systems have what you see is what you get, as in drag and drop builders. That's normally how you build emails today. What Agam says, I want to build with the tools I want to build with. React, Next, CSS, HTML. I just want to write code that makes what I want to have appear on the page appear on the page. Currently, with newsletter systems, that's not possible. What Agam says, I want to do that for my newsletter, for the landing page, for the email, for everything. Right? I want everything to be customized by me. Currently, it's not unless you roll your own. So Agam says, let's build infra that enables everyone to roll their own using this tool.
That's essentially what Agam that's a better explanation. Just for the developer.
That's why I do marketing first and tech second, and you do tech first and marketing second. That's the difference between you and me.
Just to hit the technical point about it, you should give out API endpoints to do the basic infra stuff, but give the users the ability to create their own front end. Okay, email provider agnostic. This is a big one. Most of these tools that you can go into, like ConvertKit and all these big players, even Ghost, they have a hosted version. It's super expensive. Tom, if you can share your screen and show people like the pricing of Ghost, so you can go to ghost.org and show the pricing. The pricing is fucking ridiculous. I cannot run my newsletter even with 3,000 subscribers in a normal rate. And if I grow it a bit more, it gets even more crazier.
So let's put some things in perspective. That's the basic size when you have 500 members. Agam, for context, has like 3,600, right? Let's talk about 3,600. It's like in the $5,000 range. We're already talking just for the creator package, because the starter's out of it, for $65 a month, which again can be reasonable. The problem is there's a lot of things that are kind of included in the nuances that of the platform. We're not going to go into all of them now. That essentially make Agam have to go into the $200 range for the things that he wants to do, which are not super complicated. They're just highly customizable. And when Agam grows his newsletter even higher to like 15K, we're only talking about $225 a month. Now, with a common subscription price for this, with a common sponsorship package for this type of tools going, and that was like yearly billing. I think that if I switch to monthly, it's like $50 more. So essentially, with a normal sponsorship package for a few $1,000s, a few thousand subscriber newsletter, going from anywhere between, I don't know, $1,000 to $2,000, depending on how popular the newsletter is, then essentially I am, having to pay like a quarter of a sponsorship for just the basic infrastructure for the newsletter.
The unit economics don't make sense. So
that's insane. And that's before everything else, before promotion, before paying the people who audit and proofread and whatnot, right? It's a lot of money.
So back to it. There are a few email providers that you can use. You have Amazon SES, you have Mailgun, you have Sendinblue, you have SendGrid. When you use them directly, the costs are a lot more reasonable. Right now, when I send with Mailgun to all of my email list, it costs about like between $1 and $2, which is a lot more reasonable, and the unit economics play more normally for me. So I want you to be able to choose what provider you want to use. On top of that, a lot of people that are not in newsletter don't know about this, but emails have reputations. If you send a lot of spam, you're going to get fucked up. Your email is going to get the spam. Nobody's going to open your newsletter.
Do you want to maybe let me talk about deliverability?
What, 10 seconds, because I want to go forward.
Sure, deliverability. The process of getting your email into the inbox of people and not anywhere else inside the mailbox. Big thing, not easy, not trivial, especially for major newsletters.
Okay. So if you have your own, like if you buy a dedicated IP on SES, you can have your own reputation and you don't need to be stuck with, all the other users of ConvertKit, for example. So back to this. So sponsorship powered. I think this is one of the biggest business gaps. A lot of newsletter systems are not sponsorship first. When I say sponsorship, I mean that there is some player, some company in the industry that likes my subscribers and they want to pay me to put an ad in my newsletter. So having like priced ad slots and dealing with all of those newsletter advertisers, I think this should be something big. Or what the prices are. I don't need to do the emails back and forth, and they can automatically buy it with Stripe or something. Okay, next one is open source. We're talking about it. I think that when you have the community integrated in it, I think it can create an amazing product like Ghost is. So if you want, you can check Ghost. Another big one is SEO optimization. So SEO is not optimized in a lot of these in a lot of these systems. So for example, with BeeHiiv, I got a big reduction in my SEO because I don't think they did a good enough SEO like I had in Ghost. So if you control the whole layout, you can control the SEO basically, and you can put it on a CDN, you can do whatever you want. Okay.
Let me talk a little bit about the SEO side of things before we move on. It's super important and not trivial to get right. So when you look at the on-page optimization scores for most templated websites, unless somebody on the other end did a very, very good job, surprisingly, HubSpot does a very good job with their landing pages. They are, generally speaking, depending on which template you choose, but generally speaking, SEO optimized. But it's a big company to spend a lot of money doing that. Getting an on-page optimization score high is just work. And as soon as somebody tweaks something in the template, the score might go down, depending on a variety of factors. Drag and drop builders have a problem with that SEO as a whole. And I think that if you're looking at anything, that's a general marketing comment. If you're looking at any tool that has a drag and drop builder, think about the SEO. Always, always, always. Yeah. Generally speaking, drag and drop builders are bad SEO.
Okay, last few points. Because it's open source, we can make it extendable, right? We can have plugins like Rich Media. If you want to have Twitter inside your newsletter, somebody can write that. And because it's open source, it's easy to add all these things. Usually in all these systems, they're like, ooh, big version update. We added Twitter callouts. I'm like, I don't care. I want to be able to make it myself. And the other thing that you can make is you can also open this up to paid newsletters. It doesn't have to be only sponsorship powered or whatever. It can also be a community. You can create whatever type of newsletter monetization system you want to have. Hosting. I want to be able to host this on Vercel or Netlify or Render. I don't want to be stuck on their hosting systems and have like a slow website. Last one, easy backup and restore. this is a big one. A lot of these systems, they say, okay, you have all the newsletter subscribers, like you have all the email list, you can export them, but they don't let you to export and import all of the content, which is basically your SEO lead generation, your marketing. So that's a big one. If you can import and restore your newsletter very easily, I think that could be a big one. And also, it's a good marketing tactic, because if you know how to import from BeeHiiv and from ConvertKit and from Substack easily, you're going to get a lot of newsletters very easily onboarded. Okay, last few points. Yeah, Tom?
Can I talk about marketing now? Because we're getting up there on time, and I want to talk about go-to-market as well, because I have a comment. So you tell me when. Okay, please share your screen again. So I think the most important point in whatever Agam was saying here, because I lost track at some point, was essentially the migration. So this is a tool for people who don't want to use other tools. And how does that usually happen with developers? I assume a lot of people will agree with me. You look at a set of features and you say, okay, so this is missing here, but this is missing there. And like, I'm trying to compare different tools and I'm trying to figure out exactly what tool I want for my purpose. And then, of course, the pricing side of things. The benefit of this is that this can be a not very expensive tool, because you're rolling your infra out in a variety of other places, but it will be the most featureful, right? It will be the least expensive of the bunch, but the most featureful. And this is something you can do, because the essence of this, the core of it, will be an open source platform with support and hosting services on the other end. And about the go-to-market side, aside from the fact that this is clearly an alternative, it's not its own kind of new thing. It's an alternative to the existing process. This brings forth so many comparison possibilities with other tools. Every single niche of how can I migrate out of MailChimp for X. BeeHiiv doesn't do, alternative to BeeHiiv. Compare BeeHiiv to whatever. Again, all possible comparisons, angles should be covered by you. And also, this is a great place for somebody, and Agam is very good at that. He does that with Unzip, of landscaping what's existing. So you would landscape what exists in your newsletter space, which is kind of what...
One of the cool things you're saying that someone could do actually is go, for example, to the Ghost feature forum and see what's missing there. And just...
Yeah, sorry, I
create
for some
that.
reason, Siri just decided... Sorry for stopping in. Siri just decided to kind of open up on my computer. Don't upgrade to the new Mac circle. I'll repeat what I just said. Sorry if I'm repeating myself again. But comparisons to other websites, comparisons to other tools, comparisons to other platforms, and big thing. You want to talk about landscape. The landscape of the newsletter business. If you're the main person doing thought leadership in that role, explaining why there is a space for such a tool in the world, I think you can win this. All the indie hackers and like the individuals and the like high-end developers who want their own consumability, like Agam does, will flock to you. You will be the main brand in this world. I think this is exactly what Agam is trying to do with this podcast, should he ever choose to take it Alexa to the next level. But I think this is all I'm going to say about this, and I'm going to hand people back.
So just to hit one of the things you said before, again, another marketing thing you can do that Tom said, but it's more specific, is go to these feature forums of all these systems, see what's missing, and then add that to your roadmap. You can also start creating SEO for that right now, even if you don't have it. But basically, because you're open source, because you're extendable, you can fix all these annoying quirks that you have in all these closed systems. Just one last thing that I also reminded, like a small thing, it's a nitpick, but it's still important. Most of these systems don't allow you to change the fucking welcome email, the fucking verification double opt-in email, and the unsubscribe email that people get and form. If you're looking at marketing, you want to control the whole funnel. And if I'm not being able to send a welcome email that looks the way I want it to look, I'm going to reduce a lot of my email subscribers at the end of the day. So having all these things extendable, open source that I can change and customize is a big thing. Okay, so that's my kind of like rant about it. I'm going to send the GitHub repo in the description of this video. I'm also going to send a few links of what we saw today. And yeah, basically this is the idea. If you want to start doing something like this, you're more than welcome to send me a Twitter, a DM or whatever. And Tom, I guess, is also up for it, even though he doesn't have a newsletter right now, right?
Yeah, I don't have a newsletter, but I'm very keen on getting this out. I think that this is a very good approach to fixing an actual problem in this world. And I think you nail it on the head with the things that are missing. Now, whether there's enough of an audience like you out there for it. It's a different question, but like the time is discoverable. But I'm pretty sure that just by merit of more people going into tech nowadays, there will be more sub niches in tech for techie people that want to build stuff with like their own customability, and where the not the copy, but the design and everything really matters to them on the most basic level possible. And I think this will cause, this type of business to exist and like do very well.
I'll say one last thing. If you make this thing and I like it, I'm going to give you a free sponsorship on Unzip to promote it. So this is a call to action to all the subscribers. If you make this, you're basically getting a big audience of developers to see it. So just let us know.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Agam.
Ciao.